Hi there, I'm Dani Henderson. Welcome back to my disclosure channel. You are not going to believe what you are going to see today. I am joined, first of all, by my beautiful dear friend and co-host, Beverly Rhodes. Hello, Beverly.
Hello there, Danny. How are you? It's one of those days today. We've had the butterfly symbol flying into this particular studio this morning. So that's a great, great symbol from the creator that we're doing the right thing today. So yes, awesome.
I love it. I love it. Now, dear Beverly Rose, there's so many things and ways we could go with you. Your rich, horrific, horrendous, and beautiful and amazing life that has been tarnished and harmed and blessed and held up, and you have survived the unsurvivable. And if people have never heard of you, guys, there are five different, six, seven broadcasts on Beverly Rhodes' life on this channel. Go look. It is unreal. But today, she and I are hosting this beautiful lady below. Beverly Rhodes, please introduce our beautiful guest.
So our guest today is Akwana. She is from the Creek Muscogee tribe of Florida, and she has a traditional healing alternative medicine degree, and she works specifically within the tribe. And there's amazing work that this particular young lady is doing and moving forward because they're going for federal recognition. I think that's the right term. Could you give us some idea, please, O'Connor, of what it is that you're trying to do and what would this mean to the tribe? And I'd also like to know, because I had a look the other day, I think there's less than 500 of your people in the tribe left, according to the register. I don't know whether that's accurate, but maybe you can explain what would that mean to this very small, precious group of people. Please go ahead.
Great, absolutely. Thank you for having me today. So our tribe, in order to be a sovereign nation, which that would give us the ability to create hospitals, schools, have our own police department, fire department, resources to help our tribal members. We can only get those kind of things if we are a federally recognized tribe. So that means that the United States government has to prove that we have been a continuously functioning tribe for the last 100 plus years with documentation. Being that it was illegal to be a Native American in the state of Florida for a very long time, some of those time gaps are difficult to produce evidence that says, yes, this is an Indian tribe. But once we can get that, and as you spoke, there are less than 500 members of our tribe. Right now, because we're in the federal recognition process, our roles have had to pause. So hopefully, people that don't have their children enrolled will then get them enrolled so that those numbers do go up a bit. But I know we have lost a lot of our elders. In fact, at this point now, my mom is one of the elders of the tribe because we've lost so many. And so our numbers are very small, but if we can get the federal recognition, we'd be able to do programs to bring in some of the tribal members that maybe, haven't learned about their history or their families kept it quiet, because a lot of families did continue to keep that secret and not tell their younger ones that they were Native and they find out later on through these ancestry sites or genealogy. So, and there is an interest level amongst a lot of people my age actually have been calling and wanting to get involved. So I'm hopeful that with the recognition, we'd be able to get those individuals involved and build up our tribe and our property. And
That's
That's
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, I got a question and also a statement to make. So I'm sure that most people on the planet now realize that Christopher Columbus discovered nothing whatsoever.
no,
He stumbled upon a land that was heavily populated by the beautiful indigenous, brilliant, talented. They knew how to rotate crops and grow food and exist very beautifully without Christopher and his mates discovering zero. And of course, that lie has been allowed to consist and persist, and people are taught lies in school, as we were, and our grandparents and their grandparents, etc. So there's no such thing as a real Indian because the idiot Christopher Columbus, bumptious boy, was actually looking for India and he got lost because he was a crap sailor and he stumbled on America and decided the people there are Indians. What a dimwit! What an absolute ding dong you are, Christopher Dimwit Columbus. Anyway, I digress slightly.
It
But
it is
Akwana,
also noting though that his own men, they were out of food and they were at the point of mutiny on Christopher Columbus's ship. They were about to starve to death. They just lucked up on finding some land. So he was a terrible sailor. I'm just saying. Okay.
yeah. Let's get it in for Christopher Columbus because he's caused a lot of problems. Anyway, on to more serious subjects. Please, can you explain to the people that might not know how horrific it was in the 50s and 60s when the American government forced Indians to hide and be shamed for their own culture and heritage? Please share with us the blood drops, the blood measurements that would create a real Indian or not, and the cards they had to have or have not. Can you give us those details, my love? Take your time.
I Yeah, that's a very big topic. But so the during the 40s, 50s, and even into the 60s, especially I know in the state of Florida, the Native Americans did not have the right to vote even, and it was kept your Indian identity, your Native American identity was kept very, very secret. My great grandmother accidentally heard behind a closed door, she and her sister overheard her father and grandfather speaking Hidgety Creek, which is what we speak, and she was severely like beaten for that. And it was, you never speak of this. We are not natives. You don't know anything about this, and that was how it was. So as a result, that mentality level carried over through the generations. It really did, because that would have been in the 1920s and 30s that happened. So it was very secretive. The the blood drops you're talking about, that is the federal government has tried to place blood quantum requirements onto federal tribes that says you have to have this amount or this percentage of your blood is Native American. Well, if you do that at a certain point, you are going to run out of people that fulfill that requirement. So it's just another way of the government to do away with Native people and to do away with these federal tribes, because keeping that blood quorum and quantum level is nearly impossible. In a generation or two, nobody fits the criteria, and then you're just left with the original ones that did fit that, and the tribe dies out that way.
Which is the plan for genocide, all tribes, all indigenous
Correct.
tribes everywhere on the planet. And that is
Correct.
a plan that's been going on for hundreds of years. It never stopped. But today, we, people like us, we shine a big light on it and we say, no more. No more. We're calling you out, all of you. You know, today's a great day too for so many different reasons. I'll just quickly share. I was talking to Bev earlier, so she knows. But this lady, Maureen Sullivan, in Ireland years ago, as a man, well, if you want to call him that, a monster in her household, helped himself to her tiny little 6-year-old body, as a lot of men who can't control themselves that like children seem to do. Not sorry. Anyway, this little girl was put into a convent because, of course, it was her fault. She clearly seduced him. Obviously, it's
Obviously.
her fault, obviously, right?
Obviously.
Across the world, in the churches, the cardinals that can't keep themselves to themselves from little boys and little girls. It's the children's fault, not the godly cardinal. Ha! Anyway,
Yeah.
damn it, now I've forgotten what I was going to say. Oh, yeah, Maureen Sullivan. So this little girl was used as a slave because she'd been abused and assaulted. Now she was a ruined, destroyed child, and she might be able to tell the other children what rape and sex is, so they kept her away, robbed her of an education. When authorities would come to the convent to check on the kids, they put little Maureen in a tunnel. That's why her book is called Girl in the Tunnel. On the land where she was a slave for many years at this convent in Ireland, there is a burial ground with over 800 tiny baby skeletons. Oh, yes. And when I first met her over 2.5 years ago, I said, I swear to you, we're going to shine a light Me, Elena Danan, Luke Eastwood, and others, we are going to shine a light and they are going to raise those babies from the ground and honor them. Because how is it possible to have 800 dead babies? You got cardinals, bishops, priests coming in, helping themselves to the unmarried mothers or the naughty girls that were thrown into these places. Some parents couldn't afford to keep the children. Into the workhouse you go, into the all-girl convent you go. We know the beastly monstrous
Mm.
nuns, some of them, we know it all. And I'm telling you, that's Ireland today. And now we're in your tribe on the Indian land across America. It's not American. And by the way, do people even know where the name America came from? Most don't. That's named after an Italian bloke on a Vespa eating a pizza, eh? And a bit of Pinot Grigio. Amerigo Vespucci was an Italian cartographer. He mapped much of the lands across America, and as it goes, is the custom. The cartographer behind him was a German bloke. He then named the land of America America after Amerigo Vespucci. I mean, come on, the land of immigrants, come on. Anyway, I'm going to stop there. Back to you. Beverly, take over, please. I'm obviously off my head this morning with joy.
You're just passionate, my love. You're passionate, which is great to see your passion. We always love it. So we're going to link into this. That's a good segue into the link between the work that Akwana and I are doing with Kevin Arnett on finding the missing children, the ones that were part of these awful schools. And Akwana is our go-to consultant on these cases because we have two very big cases. One is Mush Hole and another one. But the Mush Hole one is the worst one, actually. And these residential schools where the people of the time were cutting off the hair of all the children, both male and female, were cut into what we call in the UK that pudding basin, and you cut around this, but very, very viciously, actually. When you look at the way that the hair has been sliced, it was not done nicely with a pair of scissors or with any decency. It was just literally hacked, probably with some sort of a knife or something. So we've been working on that with Akwana to say this is what we're finding in the remote viewing. Is this possible? What does this mean? So I think because Akwana has done a lot more work on that than I have, I'll hand over on what has been seen and how you've been babysitting these children and what has been found over the last 13 years that you've been working on that. Go ahead, please, Akwana.
Okay, sure. So in particular, the Mohawk Residential School, I have experience with that just because I've had repeating dreams about being in that particular school throughout my entire life. So I know that that ties into some past life connection. So I do have a connection with these children and have had for many years. It is very sad, especially with them cutting the hair. And you're exactly right about the weird bowl thing. They even cut the girls' hair, which what I'm noticing more and more is that the priests and nuns that were running this school seemingly did everything that they could to flip around any sense of stability or knowledge of their people that these children had, just to upend their entire world. And in one of the RV sessions, it was noted that the children were going around the fire in a clockwise motion, which is completely the opposite of how any Native person here in America would ever go around the fire circle. It's counterclockwise. So to me, this was just, and they didn't have their tobacco, and they didn't have, any of the things that they would have to be dancing around the fire and to be able to put their prayers into that fire. So it struck me as very odd that they would be going clockwise, not have any of the sacred tools or plants that they would need in order for Creator to be able to carry those prayers, up. So it's just another way to take away their identity and to make sure that they really felt like they had nothing, which a lot of these children, they do feel that way. They're very, very nervous and scared. They don't talk a lot. That is, I think, part of their culture anyway, but especially being with everything that they've gone through, they're very slow to want to talk to the people that are in the remote viewing group, from what I'm understanding.
Mm.
But I do send my guides. I've got Chief Joseph that I work with, and I work with Ixchel of the Maya culture. And Chief Joseph, he gathers them around and he tells them stories that they're familiar with. So I've got him as a storyteller. Ixchel, I've got her working with the much younger ones, and she's able to, you know, create a blanket of light around them. It's almost like a really warm hug. So that's how I've been working with them. And then having fires, you know, putting things out for them and into the fire, like ribbons and things like that that they're familiar with, because everything's been stripped away from them. And they're yeah.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Can we explain to people that may not know? Obviously, you come from a very beautiful, different culture to most people potentially watching, especially if they're white Westerners, they won't know of the rich beauty of your deep culture.
Mm.
That what we need to explain is that the children we're talking about are the dead spirits of the children that were taken from their families and in a complete horror nightmare of abuse until they died. And look how young their little spirits are. They're tiny babies that perished. They were killed, they were murdered, they were starved, they were beaten, they were raped, they were done everything horrific in the name of a religion, Christianity, whatever, to make these children forget their very souls, who they are. And I love to say they failed. I know it's been, you know, a lot of harm has been done. There's no doubt genocide has worked, but still, ultimately, there isn't a single tribe, I believe, until I'm shown different proof, that hasn't fully disappeared. And now the tribes are coming back. But also to say these spirit children, they're what we call earthbounds. They are earthbound. They are bound to the earth. They haven't gone to the light yet. They are, you know, and it's so sad that there are children still. And I know that that's going to clear. The land will clear. The children will go to the light. So I don't want people being upset but send your angels there, guys. Send your prayers to the children to comfort the little earthbound spirits that do exist in this place and others. Please continue, Beverly, with your beautiful questions. You beautiful, gorgeous goddess.
You're so kind to me. So Akwana, I know that you've done a lot of work going inside the unit, the school itself, and part of the remote viewing that we were doing over the last 3 or 4 weeks, we were looking at some of the access, and you were brave enough to go up the stairs to the nurses' station, which was an area that for like 13 years you weren't able either to get out of the school or get your essence up to the top, up to the area and to go to that. Could you explain to the viewers, what it is that you had witnessed and seen in the remote viewing, but also what your essence and when you had co-located yourself into the school? Could you explain some of what is experienced when you go to these sites so that our viewers understand just how awful they are and how terrible that dark energy is and how sticky and disgusting it is? Explain that this is what we're trying to do. Not only are we trying to find these remains of the children, but we're also trying to make sure that those children are we do some sort of rescue work so that we can remove them and send them across. But then you explain some of the difficulties that you've had because they've been significant.
Yes. So I was able to finally get myself up the stairs in all of the dreams and then the co-locating experiences that I've had up until I actually saw the school finally. I have been stuck on that first floor, unable to get out of any of the doors, and there's a really creepy basement. The building itself it's a lot of wood, like peeling paint. It's very damp. The smell, especially in the summertime, is really, really foul. It's a mildewy wet, but also the stench of there's no of like death is there, and with the water that pools up, it's just very nasty. So I did finally force myself to go up the stairs, and it is forcing. And one of the girls in the group said that she saw what sounded basically like a hellhound underneath the stairs guarding it, and that could have something to do with the difficulty getting up there. But I specifically just went up there to check the nurse's station, and what I saw was a young child that basically strapped down to a gurney, and something was being injected in them. And the impression that I got was it was like experimentation. I do know that a lot of the children passed from TB. I don't know if they were actually purposefully injecting them with tuberculosis and things like that, or if they were working on finding some kind of a cure and using these children as guinea pigs in order to cure that illness. But it was a nurse that was up there that was like doing it, and it was I got out of there. Like I didn't want to be there anymore. One thing I will say, you mentioned that they're earthbound. We have a member of the RV group, the remote viewing group, that she's created songs in the children's native language
Mm. Ah,
and using AI, and they are awesome. They will give you chills. She's done so well. So I've been playing these songs when I go and visit the kids, and it seems like it has really helped. And I know she's been working on trying to get some of them free. The impression that I've gotten is that some of the kids are able to go up and to cross over, but the older ones are staying behind for the younger ones that are still stuck. Because the way that I view it is what's got these children stuck is like almost like a black giant, is the size of the whole school building, with these like octopus like legs that are attached to each of these babies. So they can only get so far outside of the school. It's like elastic kind of almost, and then it just brings them right back into the school. So I try to get them outside as much as I can and have, fire and things like that for them. But there's some incredible people in the remote viewing group that are doing amazing work. But the songs especially, I've noticed, have been just really calming for the children. So that's been helping, and it's my hope that once we find the mass graves of these children, that then they're going to be able to cross over.
Mm. Yeah.
Beverly.
Yeah, I think those particular songs, it might be we can ask if some of those songs can be made available so that you could load them on the website for the Creek Muscogee of Florida, so that if anyone wants to, I know that she has donated her work, so it would be lovely to use it as a donation and perhaps use that as an opportunity if people wanted to download those songs, because I know you checked all the language and you checked that it was correct, and it is in a particular language, which means it could be used for any tribes. It might be an idea to use that as some sort of a fundraiser. So if people were downloading, to give whatever they could based on the QR code that you've provided, so that at least your nation has some sort of a fundraiser, which I think is going to become really necessary over the next few weeks, certainly before the end of the year, with all the work that's having to be done and research in order to go forward. Because I'm not sure when does the case come up for review? Do you know when the papers have to be in?
So it it's not necessarily a timeline. It's once we turn in our response to their questions, then they've got I believe it's 6 months to respond. Now, I did want to bring up a point. This was about 15 years ago, but it was estimated that the cost of gaining federal recognition to a tribe was I think it was around $40 million
Oh
that
my
it
Lord.
cost,
Gosh.
because you've got so much money and lobbying behind closed doors and exchanges. So if you're a poor tribe like we are, we don't have that money.
Mm.
So it is kind of a financial game too. So it was very expensive. But we've got the response that we're working on is about 90% finished. So I believe the goal is to have that turned in by the end of this month.
Wow.
And then the government will have 6 months to respond and to make a determination. Or if they do like they've done in the past, they will say, well, we have another couple of questions. And it just ends up they kick it off over back to us, and then the burden of proof then is on us again for however long that takes, which yeah, they've changed the federal recognition process and the requirements 3 different times. So we've had to resubmit 3 different times, and this has been going on since the 70s,
Oh,
1970.
You know,
that
So
was
we've
going to
been,
be my next question is how long has this been taking? Because it sounds like it's been a long process. Sorry, Dani, I cut you off there.
that's fine, no problem.
yeah, so it has been the federal recognition process. We've been in that process since it became a thing. Before that, we have letters from our tribal leaders to, Lyndon Johnson, just trying to say, like, hey, we're here. You guys missed us. And we were told that they had either killed or removed all of our people, so we couldn't be who we said we were. But the problem is that with the Indian removal, not everyone went. We hid out in the swamps and in the cypress trees along the river and avoided that removal. But as a result of not being forced onto a reservation, they say that we don't exist because they did away with all of our people, or they marched them all to Oklahoma.
Gosh. Wow.
Yeah. So,
It's so enraging. It's beyond words. So here's what I would do, and if I may offer a suggestion to your beautiful people, because you've seen the sloppy way the government, all of them, and all the presidents, all of them have behaved towards your people, who should have been the ones in control, by the way, because they're the immigrants in control that took the land from our brothers and our sisters, right? So let's not lose sight of the truth here. But what I would do is I would be noting down the name of the people and person, you name them. I, Chief so and so, wrote to this bin and this bloke in this position, in this department, on this date, in regards to this specific thing. And we are now awaiting on this date their acknowledgement to our right and our truth. And you put big titles on YouTube, you get everyone to share it, and you bring those dimwits to kneel, to task. So they know their job is a servant to the
right.
people. Capiscio? I can't
Yeah.
believe how many of those dimwits that run the world and in government forget their job. That you're a servant puppet. You work for me. All right? And my mates, my brothers and my sisters. I have to go a little bit street, a little bit oiky, a little bit blokey to try and control my rage. Do you know what I mean? The injustice
I
to
do.
us
I
all.
do.
And again, I make no apology. And this channel clearly is not for snowflakes. This is for
Mm.
women that get shit done in the world. This is for
Yeah.
people that love their brothers and their sisters of every species, grade, breed, color, whatever. Come on. I wanted to ask you again, if I can make that suggestion, that you, honest to God, you get the people. You could do a round table with the people who are writing to government and have each one say, I've
Mm.
written to this one, that one, this one, that one. Here's the response. Here's their name. Name the person that's going to be in charge of making a decision in service to the people.
Mm.
Do it. Let's see what happens. I've started doing that. I've started calling people's names out. Say, oi, aren't you doing your job? You need to move along, mate. Oi, upper management needs firing there. They're shit. Here's the proof. Do you know what I mean? You just got to
Yeah.
lay it out there. We need to train them so they know what their jobs are because someone's not training them, so it's down to us because it's our planet, right? And again, if,
Yes.
if people are getting triggered, move along, Poppet. It's just not for you. Straight talking's not for you. You're like the fools of before. I'm going to give a quick example. One of the first times I realized I could speak up was years ago. I mean, it was too late, really. I was already in my teens. But Bob Geldof, who was a singer from the Boomtown Rats, who created Band Aid and Live Aid,
Yeah.
he's in a line, and Margaret Thatcher, the woman who used to run Britain, was coming up, and he's standing in front of her, and he's Irish, and he's like, Prime Minister, children and people are dying, like that. And my horror that this pop star spoke to what I was programmed and groomed and beaten and traumatized into accepting, same as my parents, grandparents, etc., was the authority, was the leader. And I couldn't believe. And then she said, "Yes, I know," in a bloody British, bloody pompous way. Yeah, 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 yeah. We call them the chinless wonders. That's them. That's the men and the women. You should see them in Parliament. It's embarrassing. They should be in the zoo and we should be throwing buns at them. The men, Lord Bollock Chops and Fat Fucker over there. You know, oh my God. These men are running our country. It's embarrassing. They're animals, animals. Anyway, I've completely forgotten where I was going. Beverly, take over.
Dani, we need you to come up and go to Washington, D.C. I want you to represent it just like
Oh,
you just did.
please let me do that.
Yeah.
Let me in there. Let
Yes.
me line them all up. And let me give them a good talking to, each and every one, and let me film it and let me share it. And let us film the response of the yeah, yeah, yeah. Beverly, rescue this broadcast.
Oh, my agony aunt. Well, talking about the Thatcher thing, she was known as the pisser because, she was, yeah, she was known in our group as the pisser because the funniest thing was on that particular score, when we were doing the 9 year stint and doing that work, there were certain individuals that were in that area. They were particularly into golden showers
Oh,
and golden showers from children. So when you say certain names, I just want to collapse because it's like, really, there was various other ministers as well that, like Tubby the Tuber, they all had nicknames, they all had code names. And yeah, that there was one, around her that was known as the pisser because was into golden showers. Just as an aside,
well,
just an aside.
well, I'm sorry, and you know the British public can't bear to hear anything said against their beloved royalty or their beloved authorities or prime ministers or whatever. So again, it's not for snowflakes, so you pop along there if you don't want to hear what's coming next. Beverly, you mentioned the 9 year program. You
Mm.
mentioned in the room. Again, people that may not know you don't know what you're talking about. So sorry, Akwan, I'm just going to step to Beverly for a minute.
No,
Please.
this has
It,
gone way interesting.
yeah, well,
Yes.
it's all, but it all sadly, it
It
all
all
dovetails together.
it does.
So Beverly, you're on full screen, my love. Take your time and just drop some clangers. Let's go.
Yeah, here we go. So the 9 year program, 9 years of the program was servicing the hoi polloi, the upper echelons of very, very rich and very famous and very royal in some cases, landed gentry across all over the place, as well as, of course, looking after the new vampires in creation. So that was also part of it. But yes, most of us were moved here, there, and everywhere to people that used to get hold of the fixer, the finder, people like Jimmy Savile, that you'd get a phone call and say, "Oh, could you please bring X amount of children to Parliament buildings?" Or, "Oh, could you please bring them down to Brighton because we're having a party conference, but we need about 6 boys and 4 or 5 girls, or maybe six of each." And the best one, this is the best one. This is the best one. They used to say to him, my handler, they used to say to him, "Oh, just bring us one of each." Yeah, one of each. A white one, a brown one, a black one, a boy one, a girl, and this one, an Indian one, and this one, whatever. Just bring us one of each or a couple of each. It's fine. Good mixture. As if you are ordering sodding cocktails. Let's just have a couple of shots, why don't we? Well, actually, and that just stuck in my head and used to go round and round and think, just bring us one of each. Bring us on one of each of what? Yeah, one of each of pizzas, one of each of children, and bring them to the back entrance, etc. And this still goes on today. And it's also one of each would also include, unfortunately, American Native Indian children, which is part of what they do. They steal them because there's a price on them. And the price on them is because of, well, it's twofold. It's to do with their eye color, but more importantly, it's to do with the blood type and the energetics. And when they realize that they're from a particular blood type or a particular line of American First Nation peoples, they then have a different level or different price put on their heads. And that is part of it. And also what they do is they will utilize a process where they unalive the child to such a point, but then they inject adrenaline into the heart, bring that child back, and that child then has multiple personalities. So that means not only have you got one child, but you've got one child, one body, but three personalities. So you've got the subservient one, you've got an arsey one, and you've got one that, is a bit of a tartlet. So you've got the three different personalities all in one body. So there's your asset. Your asset is worth X amount. So say, for instance, over the 9-year period, I personally would have been able to make in the region of about between five and 700,000 pounds over 9 years. If you take it back, work it backwards, the most I ever serviced in one day was 11. 11 in
And,
one day.
and to be blunt, you serviced 11 men or maybe women too, sexually as a little tiny girl
Yeah.
in Parliament.
Yes. So if you think about it, when you look at the spreadsheets, because my handler was running everything, he was given an entire region, entire country to run. And, he would have us lot, and then he would have another secondary lot. He'd have a third lot, which was children that were procured or sold whole, for snuff videos. And well, not videos, but it was in those days, it was film. Um, and that's what they would be sold for. So you've got those types of children that's a different income stream, if you like. And when you used to look at his books and what he was doing, he would have the different income streams because he was always reporting back to very, very, very senior, high up landed gentry that owned the worldwide um, transportation and sale of children.
Oh my
Still
God.
exists.
It still exists. So
Yep.
years ago, I don't know whether I told you this before, Beverly, and Akwana certainly won't know this. I was the very first clinical hypnotherapist ever to perform clinical hypnotherapy, NLP, whatever skills I have, to members of Parliament. So
Wow.
yes, and it was my idea. I came up with it, and I applied, and they accepted me, and it was great. Now I know there are tunnels underneath Parliament because
Oh,
I've
there's
been
loads.
in them, and we're going
Yeah,
to come
I know.
back. We're going to come back in a second. So I'm
Loads.
going to give my proof first because you and I have never spoken about it ever.
Mm.
So I know there are tunnels under the Houses of Parliament in Britain because I've been in them. And when I say them, it's one in particular. When I was to become the clinical hypnotherapist on staff there for the 8,000 members of Parliament, 8,000 members of Parliament. And there is, when you are in the Houses of Parliament, the tunnel goes under the River Thames and across to a road called Cannon Row. And Cannon Row is the gym, or was the gym, for the government personnel. So they come under the Thames and go into Cannon Row or catch a cab across, whatever. If it's still the same, I don't know, but it was when I was working there, 2011, 2012. This is around the time when I got this position. Unfortunately, two of the most well-known journalists at the Daily Mail and the Daily Mirror caught wind of my position as the clinical hypnotherapist, made so much fun, I didn't ever have one single client, not one. Well done, boys. I also was at the point where I was literally being taken around underground and going into huge locked rooms that were full of furniture that I could pick the furniture I wanted for my office. And you always want a nice, huge, lay down chair. I mean, an extra big one that would fit a rhinoceros because, man, there's some fat effers in Parliament, women and men. Right, women and men, so out of shape, so bloated, like triple chin, and like people like Edward Heath that dirty, filthy pedo.
Yeah.
He touched so many boys. And you again, you being exposed to Jimmy Dirty Savile and his filthy brother that liked to poo. He liked to poo on babies. I know it's shocking, guys, but you got to get over it 'cause it's not about you. It's not about you being shocked. It's about women like this in the screen that have been through so much in their indigenousness and they're fighting for the survival and the memory of children taken, children lost, stolen daughters, stolen indigenous daughters. And we are putting our attention today in particular on Akwana and the Muscogee Nation of Florida. Now, my love, you're going to take us on a tour because we are looking to find funds to support your tribe.
Yes.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Let me get this camera flipped around and I'll just take y'all around real
Take your
quick.
time.
Okay. So, okay, first of all, I just want y'all to get to see the whole mural. It's
Oh,
still
wow.
it's in progress, but it has a lot of our sacred animals. The heron, we use their feathers on feather wands. The spider there, she saved our sacred fire when there was a flood, the great flood, like everybody has. And then, of course, the hawk is a warrior bird. Crows are very sacred. They're like the ancestor spirits. We have a bear and a deer. So the bear, she's the protector of the fire. So she's very important. So I'm just going to take you in this room. We do have a couple rooms. This was an old schoolhouse that my grandmother taught school at. So we have different styles of baskets that we would do. We would use gourds. So for gourds, these are pine straw baskets, and you can kind of see the process of how those are made. And then our white oak baskets, which Beverly's trying to help me locate one that's from the 1800s that's somewhere on my grandmother's property. But so this would be an egg basket with the double sides. Let's see, it's a pottery effigy of a possum.
Mm.
Oh, there's the possum.
I know.
Yeah,
I
Oh,
do.
possum.
Okay, so
that is a possum.
I had to show you. Beverly knows about the possum. It's a long, terrible story. Okay, and then let's see. So these are just different pieces of pottery. The reason that you'll find that it's difficult to find a lot of intact pottery is because after each fire each year, you destroy your pottery that was used on the old fire. So these are ceremonial items that we use. The whelk shell is used to call the tribal members when it's time to do a stomp dance. We use these very sharp garfish teeth for our scratching ceremony. We've got carved shells, and then the women dance with these turtle shell shakers on their legs. And if you don't have those, we've got aluminum cans that you can use. Let's see, here's the
What
diorama of our square grounds. Yep.
what are the pipes? The pan pipes or peace pipe there? What is that, please?
Oh, those are actually flutes.
Oh,
Those are
wow.
they're flutes. So you can see this would be the mouthpiece and then the different notes. We do have some old pipes, and those would be used for tobacco around the fire.
Beautiful.
Yep. So I'm still working on this. It's a diorama of how our square grounds are set up. So you have the East Arbor, which would be the women's arbor, the warriors arbor, the Miko's arbor, and then the younger men's arbor is on this side, on the south side. And
Are
then you
those
have,
shells? Are those shells around the perimeter? I can't
yes,
really
so
see.
yeah, so the square grounds itself is lined with oyster and clam shells to
Oh,
represent. So outside of the circle here, is not it's like regular land. But once you cross over those shells, you're entering into sacred land, and it's representative of the mother's womb, the entire thing. So
Oh,
this shells delineate the natural land, almost like how when waves crash, it makes that foam. So this
yeah.
would be the land, and inside there is the spiritual side of things, like with the water, because we do believe that water is also very sacred. And each year we birth the new fire through the womb. and that's our New Year ceremony. So that would be our green corn ceremony.
That's so
Um,
beautiful. It looks like a medicine wheel almost.
Mm.
it really is. Yeah. So, and this is, oh, you can see the creek not better that kind of goes along with the Celts as well. So this is our
Yeah.
logo, the 4 directions, 4 seasons, stickball gloves. So our native village, we didn't do teepees. I know a lot of people think Indian native, they think teepees. We actually did these long houses, and it would be just storage of fruits, vegetables, and things like that, and a center. And so, yeah. And then our burial grounds would actually look like this. They would also be covered in the shells, in the white earth, and then little trinkets belonging to the person would be placed. And you have the diamonds and circles to differentiate between men and women. So that would be that. And
So
then,
from that point of view, when we're looking at your burial grounds there, Akwana, is
right,
if there was
there
if
you
there
go.
was children that were located, that the remains of children had been located, how would how would those remains be um, repatriated back to the tribe? Obviously, each tribe is slightly different, I'm sure, but because you've shown this in your museum, is there something that you could perhaps offer some insight on what would happen, how it would happen? Because I do know that there are some people um, seem to be believing and have put this forward that it is more of a media grab, and I'm sure Kevin will have a lot to say about that because I had a lot to say about that too. That
Poor
it's a
Kevin
media
has a
grab.
lot to say about it. I've got a lot to say
I'm
about it,
sure.
and
Yeah, I
we'll
want to
let
hear.
Kevin.
I want to hear
We'll
what you
let,
have to say.
we'll let Kevin have his turn later. I'm gonna take my turn. Repatriating your people's remains and bones is one of the most sacred things that you can undertake. Let me give you an example from my tribe's perspective. The Porch Creek Indians, which are an offshoot, we were all one split off. The Porch Creek Indians at Wetumpka, which is where they built their casino. Wetumpka was a very sacred land that has the remains of our tribal chiefs and our spiritual leaders there. They dug those bones up and they put them in a storage shed for several years to build a casino on it. I'm here to tell you that to this day, the Porch tribe is strongly disliked by nearly every Native American group that you can find here because of how disrespectfully they treated the bones of our people. They had an obligation to repatriate those. They had people that said, yes, we know how to do this, and they didn't do it. And there was outrage and outcrying from everywhere. All tribes, all tribes. Unfortunately, because they're nearby to us, people hear Creek Indians and they assume that we are part of them. That's been another obstacle, is because of what they did to our leaders and our people by not reburying them. We have almost like a black mark on us just because we live in the next state over and we are Creek Indians. So I can tell you, anybody that thinks it is a publicity stunt is clearly not a Native American, obviously, because that is ignorant speaking. That is not a Native person speaking. I don't know who they are, but they're not Native. And these Mohawk children deserve to get to go home. They were sent from their home up into Canada. They don't belong there. They do not belong there. If you can get those bones and at least bring them back to their native homeland area, I guarantee that the Mohawk people want their children back. They do. Ask them. They don't want them up in Canada where they never lived and just sitting there. You know, it's disgusting. It is disgusting not to get these children found and brought back home. And I would strongly urge anybody that thinks that this is a publicity stunt to please do some research and do not speak out of a place of ignorance or lack of understanding, because clearly you don't understand and you're not Native based on that.
Well, thank you. That's yeah, very passionate. Obviously, it's a very difficult.
I didn't even use any bad words, and I had a lot of them.
You're beautiful.
Thank you, Akwana. It is, I had to bring that up because this is something that has come up over the last few weeks. And as you rightly say, it is from lack of understanding and also from ignorance from individuals that are not, obviously not part of any native tribe or any of the native tribes. Because all of the tribes that I've been dealing with over the last few years, um, there is no way that any of those individuals from any of the tribes, none of them would have said something even remotely close to that. In fact, I think most of those, and I think I've introduced you to a few of them that I know, all of them are saying the same thing: bring these babies home.
Yes. And I would also like to add that if anyone hears this and then doesn't go forward and do the research to understand, then you're then acting out of place of willful ignorance, and that's far worse. So please do the research. How would you feel if your family got hauled off somewhere, were treated terribly, were abused, and then killed, and they were just left in some other random country that you never lived? Would you not want them back? If they found them, you would want them back. We have repatriated two different people, not even our tribe, because they were not, their tribe did not want them. We put them with us and gave them a spot. It is important to give them the native burial, and that's another thing. They need their native ceremonial burial. And I'm not sure how the Mohawk does theirs, but in ours, we go to the four directions and swirl, and it's to confuse any spirits trying to come get the deceased person. There's and there's important things that they need to be buried with for their protection. Like, a public, no, no.
Bless
I
you.
would just say,
Bless you. Gosh.
Again, this happened to so many millions of beautiful indigenous people, and it reminds me of Hawaii. Ow. And Auntie Puna, I must get Auntie Puna Dawson on my channel. She's so special and one of the elders in Hawaii. And there's so many sacred ceremonies. So there are ceremonies with the Hawaiian people where they take the bones of their ancestors and they will bury them for a period on the beach, on the sacred beach, and then they will then move them, and it is very sacred. And again, the RSATs that have tried to DEW, direct energy, weaponize like they did in Lahaina, and don't ever think Lahaina's coming off the table. I bring the same man on my channel who's fighting for the truth of Lahaina, because now they're trying to put a smart city there. They tried to take the land. They tried to genocide generations of people living in these little wooden shacks down by the front, down by the ocean, and they burned and they bombed, and they did it to remove people off the land because they don't care. The billionaires and above at the top. And it's just unbelievable. They did the same thing in Paradise, a place in California where there were actual Alpha Centauri, beautiful ETs working on beautiful technology for humanity. And there's a third place recently too, but it's been happening a lot. It's happening quicker because they're losing. The dark side is losing and they're behaving even worse and they're making very sloppy mistakes. But that's what you do when you're a nothing and think you're a something. But, nod to your willful ignorance there that you mentioned. But, it is a light we're shining on every sort of atrocity where our beloved ancestors have not been given the respect and the acknowledgement and the beauty. And again, speaking of willful ignorance, I don't know whether I should laugh or cry really. But if you look at Machu Picchu, the Incas, the Maya, and beings before that time, people are like, oh, we don't know what happened if a UFO landed on Machu Picchu at the top. I've been there at the very, very top and like picked everyone up. We don't know because we didn't find any bones because that's Western man or woman imagining that the ancients buried their dead like we do in a box or burn them, stick them in the ground. They don't do that. They put them in embryonic fashion and they bury them inside the mountain. Hundreds of them. They're facing a sacred mountain as a dead person. But because of the stupidity, and people think they know better, of course they don't. They like, oh, there are no bones here. Must have been UFOs took them up. Like Jesus, you know. And again, we got to be okay with telling the truth, laying it out for people, because what we've done in this broadcast, I feel like it's one of my best broadcasts I've ever done, even though it's really desperately painful, sad. Like I want to cry. I wanted to cry so many times through this broadcast. And so I get loud and bombastic to try and control myself. It's so deeply, deeply joyful to me at this time. How many skeletons, like Maureen Sullivan in Ireland, the 800 skeletal babies of the abused little girls in the convent, that may have been raped and they're pregnant and they were in there, or maybe they got pregnant by accident. That's okay too, And then
It is.
don't even forget like the Pope, the bloody popes who said you can't use contraception. They forced on the Irish people, let's say in particular, to have 14, 15 kids because
Mm,
you can't, you weren't allowed to do things to keep yourself not getting your wife pregnant or her falling pregnant. It's just pure evil, 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 evil. They knew they couldn't feed their kids. They'd have to take a ton of them away. It was all a plan. It's always
mm.
been a plan. And I want all of our ancestors and our families, all of us, every color, every nation, honored, and for us to speak of the truth that has been covered and hidden and redacted as the dickheads at the top have tried to redact all of history and rewrite it. And they're still rewriting it. Mongeds, they're still rewriting history. Beverly, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it is one of the aspects I noticed is that the collective consciousness aspect of the different races that here on Earth, they are all putting forward a different type of energy now to make sure that we, those that are waking up, those that are becoming awakened beings, that we allow those ancestral energies to come through and connect with ourselves so that they've got that energy, which will then be used as part of the review of those that came before us. So we know that that energy is being drawn down into the earth so that the bones of the ancestors of all nations, because it's not just in Ireland, it's also in South Africa, it's other nations across all over the world. You have them in China, you have them in Japan, you also have those in Korea as well. You have in areas like across China, you've got babies that were put into the land because they were born female and there was the one child policy. So you have all of that energy coming up, coming up, coming up, and it's reaching boiling point now, where suddenly across the world, all of these types of things are going to suddenly be popping up. This has been found, that burial ground has been found, Ireland has been found, and I'm pretty sure we're going to find at some point in Canada, in these other areas where these schools, where these beautiful children have landed into the land, even if there has just been small pieces and fragments of them, still belonged to a person that had a soul. And these souls are rising. And all over the world, this is now going to really start coming up and coming up, and people are going to be found. And this is when that energy then will meet and match us and merge, because this is the time now.
It's so, so, so precious, so beautiful. And as you know, Beverly, because you did a beautiful introduction email, thank you again for myself and Kevin Arnett. And he's coming on my channel this week too. And he's another one that is fighting for the children to be exhumed from the residential schools in Canada where the children were taken from their tribes, kidnapped, cut their hair, made to have terrible names that weren't their own, not allowed to speak their language, as we've mentioned a few times in this broadcast. And it's like the earth is opening herself up.
It is.
The
It
light is shining in every dark corner, and there's absolutely nothing that the dark ones can ever do again. Again. And this is the reality. Isn't it so beautiful, guys?
it is,
It
yes. Yeah, it is. It's time. We've waited a long time for this. Mother Earth is releasing. those that she's protected for such a long time. And that energy, when she releases it, that energy will go back into the collective consciousness, and we can then draw that down and utilize that energy because it is worldwide. When I see the world across, there's these pockets of golden energy, and I think that these pockets of golden energy that I keep seeing, that's the energy that is going to be across Earth. And we had recently, I think it was in April, we had 24 hours where the Earth kind of did a little bit of a bit of a wobble, and it was quite interesting because there's a geophysicist that I follow, and he had said that there was these solar flares and all sorts of things, and the Earth had sort of wobbled a bit. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I've just seen this odd energy where we weren't fully connected to the collective consciousness for about 20 hours. And during those 20 hours, this is when all sorts of nonsense happened, where people were threatening wars, and this was kicking off in another country, and there was all sorts of things happening across the world. But this is just from 20 hours of not being connected to the collective universal consciousness. And then the earth righted itself, and then all the geophysical aspects stopped, and the solar flares stopped, and then it calmed down a bit. But you saw that period. If you have a look back, you'll be able to see all the pictures of what happened on the earth. And this is where we're now at. We're at the tail end of this, where that energy is going to allow all that information to come out of the earth finally. So this is why you've got the 800 babies in Ireland being found. And this is where you're going to be finding all these other little mass graves all over the world where things are going to be coming to the fore. And that is going to make a huge change.
It really is. Sorry, Akwana, I'll come to you in a second. I just want to share something else that's in people's minds because the Diddy pedophile fiddler scumbag that everyone's terrified is not going to go down. He is, guys. He's going to prison. He's in prison. He's going to do time. But the thing is, we're talking about the beauty of the earth opening herself up and the light shining. Then you've got scumbags like him. He's a sacrificial lamb for people much higher than him. Don't think he's at the top because he's not. He's
No.
manipulated like other people are. But now they're saying that, well, this is why women don't come forward or men who've been harmed and abused in the worst ways because people like Diddy will get out. And then people are running, like a friend Homie, for example, worried about being a target. I don't think Homie's really worried about being a target. But anyway, and he's coming on my channel soon too, Big Homie. And anyway, long story short, that, where the dark will try and force its hand to scare the people and say, you think this boy's going down? He's coming out and he's coming for you. And all these insane followers are coming for you and they're threatening. That's a circus.
It is.
That's the clown show, guys. They're the clowns. And that's a distractor to make you lose hope. Don't you dare lose hope. Don't you dare lose hope, friend. Akwana, over to you.
Oh, I just wanted to add, and especially with the Diddy thing going on, this is just another ploy to get them to feel like they have established control over you. But the darkness is going down, and it's a cornered and caged animal. Like, you know what I mean? It's at its last little thing, and it is clawing and gripping at anything. It's going to throw everything but the kitchen sink at it. So I would just encourage all of you light warriors and light workers, do not fall for the circus. Don't fall for it. That's all that it is. The light is winning. We definitely are. And this is just last ditch attempts to try and keep some form of control, but it's not working. It's not working at all.
And that I agree with you. And sometimes when you meet individuals, because on my line of work, I meet all sorts of unusual people. And some of them, I call them leatherbacks because I can't think of any other name for them. And there are these that stand behind and they've got these big leatherbacks that come forward and they've got these hooky pointy things that are on them. And you just see this coming, you think, oh, okay, you've got one of them walking with you. I have seen in the last 3, 4 months since January this year more of these funny creatures walking with people than I have ever seen in all sort of 50 years of doing this work. They are everywhere. It's almost like they're coming out of the woodwork. You look at them and you think, really? Okay, we've got one of those there. And, the Demon Hunters Incorporated is getting more and more and more work because they're just coming to the fore and they're thick and fast, thick and fast. So everyone's having to. Recently, we're busy with somebody that we're trying to move off and send back. Otherwise, she'll have to be turned to dust. But it's taken six of us. So that's the four corners, north, south, west, east, and then up, creator, up and down, Mother Earth. And six of us have had to hold that. And it was a difficult one. And they are getting progressively more difficult, but they're always turned to dust or they're moved off into the light. But this has become quite common now since January, whereas we never had this level that we're seeing before. It's those that are now waking up and realizing this is not me. I don't want this. What's walking with me? And these are the questions. They're coming to me for sessions. They're going to you, Akwana, for sessions to say, can we do a sacred fire? Can you take whatever I have walking with me or part of me? Can you take that off? So we're getting a lot of deliverance that's happening right now.
Yeah, that's nice. The word deliverance and for the people to release their own pain
Mm.
and reconnect. And I want to say to the people out there who've done terrible things or kept silent, because you're guilty too, friend.
Mm.
Don't bother getting right with God. Don't waste your time. You get right with the people that you wronged. You get right with speaking up and speaking out. You get right with sending letters, even anonymously, and doing your part to heal the pain of your brothers and your sisters, because we are all connected. And what you find when you've done bad things, you find that you are alone and you are isolated. And the people that you attacked and tried to isolate, shame, and guilt them, that's one of the biggest fears of any human: isolation, fear, guilt, shame. Yeah. Like I talk about
Yeah.
seeing ETs and spaceships, which I do and have my whole life. Imagine as a child to now the isolation, but I don't care, luckily, because I know it's real. And it just shows me the people that attack me are chicken shits, terrified, and haven't had an experience in their lives.
That's right.
Because if they
That's right.
had, they wouldn't dare attack me and my team, my Elena Danan, my Tony Rodriguez, my JP. They wouldn't dare come for the four of us, but they do. Anyway, gosh, so much to say. Again, it's just so lovely to sit with you, this beautiful sacred connection that the three of us have, and touch so many beautiful areas, and again, give so much truth of experience that we have. And we know people watching know exactly what we're saying and have their own experiences too. And again, to people that have done wrong, don't get right with God. Save that for later. Boots on the ground now. You're in a body. So get your shit together and put it right. Okay. Get your work done. Do the duty. Do the
Do the shadow
self-healing.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's so, so important. I was going to say something else. It's gone for a second. Maybe it will come back.
We were going to
Um,
talk about the Alawan, and we were going to talk about. I know the Alawan is the colloquial term is a skunk ape, and I know that we asked last time we did the broadcast. We asked Akwana because she always gets these amazing glyphs and these wood sculptures and all sorts of things that get left. And I know that Akwana went to have a look and see. I know she's got more than 30 pieces. And I think you went
So
and
fun.
you had a look, yeah, you showed me quite a few of them. And I personally could never have chosen which ones you're going to show, but I think you did bring some especially to show Dani today. So
Yeah,
whatever.
I did. I did. Oh, this is the one that kind of has very like draconian kind of tendencies,
Oh,
but it's like it's been carved. The other side's just like flat. Let's see. Oh, this one I just got recently. This one's trippy. It's very cool. So it's been somehow they've gone all the way around, and it's at certain angles. It looks like there's the like a Alawan face in there even, and
oh,
it's this one I just got about a week ago. Um, and I think she also the Alawan, like I think she also because you can see the face that's
oh,
carved
there's
into
the
this one.
face. Oh Lord.
I don't know if she finds some of the maybe wooden things that the natives that were here, earlier in time, if she finds those as well, because this one's got a really cool face. It's got the face is here, and then it's like the like feathers and hair. You can see
Wow.
like so
Amazing.
I don't know if she I've got like, I mean, I've seriously got like a plate of these things for
Oh my
real,
gosh.
like
Okay.
tons of them.
We need to tell
Danny's
people.
freaking out. Watch
We
out. Watch Danny.
Yeah, we need to what we need to let people know that what you're speaking of, what you're sharing, are beautiful gifts left by a female Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti,
Yes.
Yowie, Howley. They're called so many things. Oh no, wait, Howley
Yeah.
is the Hawaiian word they use for us for white people, Howleys. Yowie was the other Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Alawan. I'd never heard of the name Alawan until you, Bev. But
Oh,
you
okay.
tell us that the Alawan is the correct name for the Bigfoot beautiful species, right?
Mm-hmm. They're the
Beautiful.
interdimensionally, they refer to themselves as Alawan, and they live across many different regions. Each of the Alawans, they do have a preferred area that they're most comfortable in, but because they're interdimensional, they're able to literally, and I've seen them stand up and then just walk through to another area. So the one that is on the tribal land that Akwana lives on, where there's a new very very large tree that was cut down. It's an oak that nearly fell on Akwana's house. Was pushed back by the Alawan and saved, so that at least there was a tiny, tiny sort of 1 meter, 1 meter area before your front door from where the big oak fell. But she had said that she pushed it away to save the house, which is good. But then when the base of the tree was cut down, which has now become an area for giving gifts and not sacrificial, but for to put fruits and to put whatever it is that's available, whatever it is you're doing to feed this particular skunk ape. That is turned out when the camera was turned around to have a look at it. The camera showed that that base has got a huge face of the Alawan. And I looked at it and I said, that's a face. That's a face. And it is in there, and it's a big, fluffy, beautiful creature. And I said, well, I guess that's what she wanted. So she's got that now. But she can move from there to another area. There's, I think, two other areas where there's swamps further up. I can't remember all of them. Akwana, you'll have to fill in. What is the rest of it? How does she move from place to place, and what's been happening?
So she does. She travels into Alabama, which interestingly, when went through the removal, we did stay in Alabama for a while. So I think she kind of knows it from maybe being around us. But and I also I've got to check. There's a couple other areas I want to look and see that if she goes there because there's just some amazing swamp areas. But and then she goes somewhere up north in the mountains, but the face on the stump is amazing because it's got pale patches like of her hair as well. I mean it honestly looks like if you could have snapped a picture of her and just put it right on that tree, it's right on that stump. But even the guys that were helping to remove the tree couldn't figure out how it didn't hit the house. I mean, I knew how it didn't hit the house, but I didn't tell them because they had chainsaws and were busy, and I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, we'll just go with that. But she she's got dark fur, but patches of light hair. And I do believe she has a little one with her that she's slowly been trying to introduce me to, but we just haven't gotten there yet. Like I haven't seen the little one, but I have had interactions with the little one. And then she gives these like all of these wooden gifts. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if she's finding them from prior people or if she's carving some of them. Um, but she's very sweet and she saved the house from that tree falling. Oh, this is a really cool one. I want to show you. I'll just show you one more. But this one's actually got it's a piece of wood, but it actually has like metal on
Oh,
it. And you can see that like the face, and that's like pieces of I don't know what kind of metal. I don't know where she finds these things. But and
Leave
she
them
does
to you.
she leaves me flowers. In turn, I leave her a lot of fruits. I've actually left like because in our tribe, like cotton and fabric and things like that are very important, and we always give those to the head woman at the grounds. So I have left behind for her fabric and things like that to do with what she wants, and it's been taken away. So I
Oh,
know that she gets them. But yeah, so a lot of food items, and she really likes sweets a lot. So she's been having a field day with the blueberries right now because those are what are in season at the at the moment. We've got some oranges that are still green. They should ripen up soon. So pretty soon I'll be giving her oranges. But with the tree falling and her face right there on it, it's just like the most, and the tree itself is diameter about 5 feet around. It's a very
oh,
large
wow.
tree,
Big one.
very large tree, and it just split down the middle on either side. But it's it's the perfect place to leave offerings for her. I mean, she stamped it with her own face, so nothing says like, "Please leave me
Ah,
gifts here," as that does. So it's very very cool, very
ah,
cool. And I've got a lot of pieces of the tree that I'll use for my sacred fires and to clear land and things like that. So
Yeah, because it's oak, isn't it? So you
it
obviously have
is
been there for centuries. How old do you think the oak was, that the one that came down?
hundreds and hundreds of years old,
So
very old.
lots of tribal knowledge there. So obviously
Yes,
keeping that for special people. Maybe
yes.
use a couple of the pieces to do something special with it, so that you at least have a memory of the energy of the tree.
Yeah, I will try. I don't know that I don't think I do wood carving very well, but I can try. I was thinking about maybe leaving her something, like, maybe if I made something and
Oh,
left it for her. I don't know.
yeah.
I like she leaves me presents, so I want to leave her something too, besides just, food and some clothing and all that. I want to make her something for her
Oh,
because
that's a good idea. You can
yeah,
use
she's
maybe
like,
use something unusual, maybe one of the Celtic sides, because we put
mhm.
cross sticks on our doors where we tie them with different threads, and we put
Okay.
cinnamon sticks together. So as part of, I know that your people put a feather above the door. We have got other things that we put above the door which are protection. So maybe do a mixture of the two, see how she likes that.
I'll have to talk to you separately so I know like what to do. I just want to make her a present for saving the house, like
Yes.
fake like a Mado, but yeah, something something she could take with her
Take
and
with
maybe
her.
give a little one. Yeah.
Are you allowed to set up a camera on your offering area, or do you think she'll probably swap the camera?
She is so smart. Are you kidding me? She's gonna take one look at me out. Are you serious right now? There's me walking with the camera. Like, I'm just gonna strap this. She's never gonna notice. She's bright. Really? No, no. I'm not
So,
even going to insult her intelligence by doing
oh my God. It would be so funny and naughty but funny if we ever were to see the hand of a Bigfoot, like because
have a
because
contact lens.
they're
One of
so
your
clever.
contact lenses.
They are so clever. And it's like it's like we were talking about, the insult of the ignorant, the boys on a Friday night,
Oh, that. Oh,
Bucky, Chucky, and Uncle Lucky, going out in the swamp there, get themselves some swamp ape, with their beer in their trucks and bang bang, daddy's gun.
it.
And oh my God, and the ignorance of them, and then to hear the reality of her, your friend, the Alawan, the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, the beautiful one, bringing you gifts and presents, and knowing that she's way too smart for you to catch her on film,
on film.
and people again, there's so many different stories they don't all know, but people like you do. In fact, the three of us have had our own beautiful connection to the Alawan, to the Bigfoot, to the Sasquatch. Ow, serious ear infection. Ow. Um, and yeah, sorry. Sometimes you just can't pretend when you get a stabbing pain there, but it's all right.
Oh,
It's healing. It's healing. It's on the turn. It's on the turn. All good. Thank you, love. Woo. I receive. I receive to the
well,
ear.
if you
I
watch, you'll
receive.
see it go, the screen when I do this, it goes blue. Can you see?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that's what happens.
Oh, right
Get it,
there,
get that
right
ear, get that ear, ear.
there. My right ear. Holistically, people would say, "What is it you're not listening to, Danny?" Also, holistically, the right side of the body is the male side, and the left side is the
Ooh.
female side. So, what man be shouting in my ear? Probably a man I need to give an old punch in the face to. But anyway, I digress into violence again. Okay.
There be dragons. Oh
Indeed, indeed.
Lord. I
Oh,
don't know what would you like to know because I've only just recently learned this about Akwana. Akwana had an ET communication and contact when she was 3. So I'm not sure whether I'm dropping Akwana in the proverbial right now, but tell me if I was shut my face. But if I do, if you would like to mention some of it, or tell me to shut my face, one of the two.
So yeah, so when I was 3, I had an experience and I was taken off world and I was in this bright, I guess Crystal City area, very bright, bright, bright. And it was the Lyrans, and one of them took my hand, you know, and I inquisitive, just asking questions, things like that. And they took me to see these hybrid children actually. And so I kind of knew like from a very young age that yes, they are out there. Yes, there are hybrids. It's nothing to be like freaked out about. And then I was just plopped back into the bed where I was staying with my mom and I got really sick.
Oh,
And so that's the one that I remember, but I've had multiple times where I've seen, craft in the sky and things like that. And I know that I've been taken since then, but I don't like have the memories of it. But I do very strongly remember that when I was 3. And then for a while, I always knew that I was being watched by them, but I didn't realize it was them watching me. So by age 6, I was convinced that the government was watching me. Okay. Like seriously. And I know that I got a lot of downloads from them when I was taken because at age 3, I'm the one going to my brother who's running too much, I think, bath water, and that we're going to run out of fresh water. And I'm crying to my mom, he needs to stop. So I had very strange concerns that most 3-year-olds I don't typically think have those concerns. So, yeah, I've had experience, I guess, and now I've got my Alawan, my Stajabko, that's what we call it, but Alawan's the interdimensional term, I guess. So yeah, I've had that happen, and then I at the last green corn ceremony, that was when I asked them to show if they wouldn't mind to fly over since I missed GSIC, and they did. They did. They flew over for me, and it was 2 different ones, and it was very, very cool. So if I just want Beverly, if you could talk to your people, Dani, talk to your people, and the next time when they take me, if I could like remember it when I get here, would be really cool.
Yeah,
That would be awesome. Talk
yeah.
to your guys.
Yeah, things have changed again interdimensionally and the dimensions on our own planet. Now that we truly are lifting into breathing into that fifth dimensional, then there's a lack of need for any more of the blocks. And the spelling, the black magic spelling that was on our planet for many generations that would prevent us, even like pushing us through a veil of then complete forgetfulness and other ways they did it too, that those spells no longer hold, the binds no longer tie. And so we are all having more remembrance, and we definitely are coming back and retaining it. So it's already happening, which is beautiful. Beverly, you put a song in my head that won't go now because you said shut your face a couple of times.
I did.
I remember you did.
Yeah, babe.
So funny. Remember that song, like, what's the matter? You ain't got the no respect. Why you looking so sad? It's a not so bad. It's a nice.
I remember
Oh, shut up in your
on your
face.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Such a brilliant song. And then once it's in there, it won't go. So you're welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Earworm. Earworm.
It's a happy song. It's a happy, happy song. I would like to suggest that the three of us, we come back next week
Hmm.
together. And by that time, we'll have invited you, beautiful audience, you beautiful people that we're so grateful for you. We love you so much, everyone. We want to invite you to ask the three of us questions. Ask us anything, anything. And we'll do our best to answer everything. How about that? That would be so fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be a good Q&A. Yeah, I think that would be
Sounds
brilliant.
absolutely.
So,
Oh, can I ask y'all a question though, real quick? On the
no, no.
DEWs? On the DEWs? I know, like, no. Does the blue roofing and blue paint, does that actually work?
Yes, it does. Yes, it
All right,
does.
cool.
Yeah,
Thank
yes, it
you.
does.
All right.
Yeah.
Just wanted to check. All right,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, it's proven scientifically. Absolutely. It's
I
a
thought so.
color that the laser cannot penetrate. Yeah. And
Right.
so like,
Okay.
yeah. So okay, so we'll do that. We'll do that for next week. And guys, ask us anything. Like we've gone to some really, really, really deep, dark, private, secret places today. We've named a couple of names. What do you want to know? Who do you want to know? We're only going to bring a name if we know without absolute with absolute proof, absolute evidence, like Jimmy Savile being one of the dirtiest pedos in the world, the fixer, that poor Beverly Rhodes actually had to deal with. So yeah, so ask away, guys. It's time. It's time. And again, do your job. Do your job. Get yourself right with the people. You can get right with God later. You do your job. You do your duty. Get it done. Get it done. Okay, Beverly, let me come to you for final words of the day, and then to Akwana. Please, the
Oh,
floor is
good.
yours.
So, I think part of the words of the day would be is to understand that around us and part of us, and even in the unseen realms, there is so much right now that's happening around us that is unseen. Try to allow yourself to have that energy to start filtering through so that you can start seeing and perceiving the unseen. Because in the unseen dwells the Alawan, dwells the interdimensional beings that can shapeshift into owls, that can shapeshift into deers. So if we start allowing our hearts to open up and allow all of what's within us to be more open, we're going to start perceiving the real world, not just the 3D world, but the other worlds that permeate our world. And that includes the star beings, the star people, Alawan, the small elementals, those that are in your home. You can start seeing all of that. Allow yourself to perceive, allow your heart to be open, because now is the time. Thank you, Dani.
Thank you, Beverly. Beautiful, gorgeous, stunning Lady Gracious Rhodes.
Dear me. Thank you.
Akwana.
Well, to follow all of those descriptors is difficult, but okay. I do agree. Tune in, and allow that energy to happen. You can even see the elementals. They show up here as like little bursts of light. It's very cute. But one thing I would urge everybody to do is to make sure you are doing your protections regularly, going outside, getting grounded, put your bare feet on the ground, not your shoes. Stay out there for 20 minutes, feet on the ground and ground to the earth. Because right now the dark forces are really desperate and they are lashing out with every little thing that they've got. I think that's why you're seeing so many people with the attachments, things like that. Is they're in desperate times. So please keep your protections up. And also, it's an unrelated subject, but when it comes to these little people that are being tortured and unalived, please do some research to look for the signs of a child that is being trafficked, that's being taken. Please be aware that it can be somebody in your own family, like somebody you don't expect. Just please look for the signs so that we can save these children and get them the help that they need.
Beautiful. Very well said. And thank you guys so much. It's just an honor and a joy to have you both together. I love you both together. You work so well. Everything is just there. Everything is so powerful. It has amplified the both of you, bringing your souls together and entwining in the way that you do. And I'm so proud to know both of you and very honored for the
Thank
sacred
you.
information that you bring. It's just so important for our literal planet, really. And I want to say to you guys, I love you and get your shit together. Now it's time.
So,
It's
yeah,
time. It's time.
we're out there. We're fighting. We're getting out there fighting. Absolutely. Looking forward to the questions from everyone. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, that would be
Definitely.
awesome.
Thank
Definitely.
you for the
Definitely.
platform, Danny. Thank you for
Of
the
course.
Yes,
platform.
thank you so
I,
much.
I always say, I always say, my beautiful channel, which I'm so proud of, is for sharing. It is for all of us. And I can never understand how selfish other people with a YouTube channel with massive followings are so selfish because it's all about them, not humanity. It's about how big their channel is and what it can do for them. It's not about sourcing information to their family, to their human family.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, you always have a home here on my channel, you too, as you build your own channels. And guys, go subscribe, please. Do it now. I'll put all the please. I'll put all the details underneath. And again, those of you looking to donate to support the Muscovy Nation, to support and connect with Akwana, every detail is under this broadcast, right underneath here. All right, we will see you next week. My name is Dani
Thank you.
Henderson. I send you love from my heart to yours. And thank you, Beverly Rose. And thank you, Akwana. Mwah. And God bless everybody.